As a former finance director, I was like a stuck record, harking on at my team repeatedly to watch out for this exact con. But in my own business, I didn't put the same processes and procedures in place, and I became a victim and got conned out of a few £1,000s. So what exactly is it that happened to me? Well, I received an invoice from a supplier that I've been working with and I have worked with many times before. So I previously received invoices from them and they sent me another invoice. But unfortunately, unbeknown to me, the fraudsters had hacked into their emails and their accounting system and changed the bank details that were printed on their invoice. So thanks to my really diligent team, one of them picked up that the bank details were different and they changed them in our system and they paid the invoice. Then a few weeks later, we received a reminder from that supplier saying that the invoice was unpaid. What transpired then was when we went back through the emails, we could see that the emails were not from them, the invoice was not from them, and the bank details were in fact the bank details of the fraudster. And now we still owe that supplier £2,000. Not that it makes me feel any better about the situation, but 71% of other businesses have said that they have been targeted by fraudsters with similar types of things. So I'm going to tell you just one thing that you need to be doing to protect yourself, to make sure that you don't make the same mistake that I did in my business. So there are 4 ways that the fraudsters can trap you. The first and the most common one is that they will send a fake invoice to you. So they will somehow figure out that you are working with a certain supplier, and actually that's not too difficult to do these days. Go back 15-20 years before everything was digitized, they used to have to go through your bin to find the invoices that you were throwing away to figure out who you were buying from. But now we splash it all over social media that we're working with suppliers. They might know that you are selling certain brands that you can only buy from certain places. So it's actually quite easy for fraudsters to find out who you are buying from. And what they'll do is they will create a fake invoice with their bank details on and they will send it to you. And they just scrape the internet and find a logo for the company so it will all look very, very legitimate. And the other thing that they may do is they may actually send a fake letter to you with similar fake logos, so it all looks very legitimate, saying, by the way, we've changed our bank details, please update your system. Rather than sending these via the post, they can also come via email as well. So you could receive a fake email saying, again, along with similar lines, we've changed our bank details, please update your system. And finally, probably the most sophisticated way that the fraudsters are doing this is by hacking into the emails of the supplier and sending you an email that looks like it has come from the company itself. So my email address is @clairehancock.com. They will hack into my email account and send emails from @clairehancock.com so it looks like they are coming from me. So what are the signs that you could have been targeted by the fraudsters? Well, the first thing, and often the biggest giveaway, is the grammar and the English that will be used in these documents. Most of these fraudsters are based not in the UK, they're based in foreign countries, and therefore their English is not as good as ours and the grammar often is poor. So look out for spelling mistakes, use of punctuation, use of words that just don't sound right, such as dear master and dear Ms and things like that. Just that's generally not the way that UK businesses would speak to their customer base. So bad language, bad English, bad grammar is often the biggest giveaway that this is not a legitimate letter or a legitimate invoice. The second thing that can be a big giveaway will be the quality of logos and other images used within the communication with you. So the fraudsters will often scrape a website and just copy a logo directly from a website. So the resolution will tend to not be high quality and you can often tell that it's not the right logo for that company. Sometimes they'll even take an outdated logo as well. So that's another sign that the email or the letter that you've received is not legitimate. So the third thing that you can look out for is the email address that you receive this from. So often the email address will be a Gmail. So if somebody was trying to replicate me, they would do clairehancock@gmail.com, when in fact my true business email is actually @clairehancock.com. So very subtle differences in the email address, but really look out for anything that looks like it's not come from a legitimate business email and is from a Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook email address, something like that. So anything that looks out of the ordinary in any communication that you receive from your supplier should be a red flag that there could be something going on. So before I tell you what the one thing is that you need to be doing to protect yourself from becoming a victim of these fraudsters, just just like I did, if I could ask you to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button to help this type of content reach more small business owners and entrepreneurs just like you, to help them on their business journey. So that one thing that you need to do that I failed to do in my business and made me a victim of a scam was to simply contact the supplier to validate whether this was a legitimate change in their bank details or not. It sounds so simple, and I am kicking myself that I did not do this. Like I say, in all the years that I worked as a finance director, I would drum this into my team repeatedly, and fraud was something that I was on the lookout for constantly. But for some reason, I didn't pay attention to this in my small business. I let the processes and procedures drop, and unfortunately, this invoice slipped through the net. So if you receive any notification from a supplier that their bank details have changed, be it a letter, an email, or even sometimes they stamp it on the invoice themselves and say, please note our bank details have changed, you must contact the supplier by telephone to validate that this is in fact legitimate and this is the correct change of bank details for them. Never ever email them, because you risk the fact that their emails have been hacked, and therefore the hackers could be intercepting their emails and you would have no way of knowing that. It's also really important that when you do telephone them, that you use a telephone number that you have stored in your system or on your phone that you have used before, and you have validated that this is in fact the correct telephone for the supplier, because it's not unknown for the fraudsters to put fake telephone numbers on the document that they've sent you. So when you call, you actually get through to the fraudsters instead. And if you're not able to contact the supplier and speak to them and verify that the bank details are correct, just do not do anything. Do not change the bank details in your system, and do not pay the invoice. Just hold off. The legitimate supplier will eventually contact you to chase the debt, and at that point you can speak to them properly about what's going on and seek further verification on the bank details. I actually had a scenario when I was working in the corporate world where the accounts payable clerk could not get hold of a supplier and had a 6-figure invoice to pay, and they eventually managed to track down the business owner via LinkedIn. And when they contacted the business owner knew nothing about the change of bank details, and they had in fact had their emails hacked and their accounting software had been hacked also. So it wasn't just us paying them that was affected, it was many of their suppliers, and they actually stood to lose hundreds of thousands of pounds from this crime. So if you do get hacked and fall victim to this, make sure that you contact your bank as soon as possible. Unfortunately, there isn't much that banks can do to retrieve money like this if you have sent it legitimately and you have authorised the payment. However, it is always worth speaking to your bank to see what they can do. They sometimes can trace the payment, and they sometimes can recover it for you also. But if you follow my number one rule and always contact the supplier directly with a validated telephone number, then you shouldn't find yourself a victim to this scam that I did. So if you found this content useful, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and also I have a free Facebook group called For Businesses That Want to Grow. I do lots of free workshops, webinars, seminars in there, and give loads and loads of hints and tips on financial management, which is the art of making sure that your business is maximizing its profit, increasing its cash flow, and ultimately growing your business.